So I'm really excited to share with you Air Force veteran and co-founder of Hy-Vee Marketing, Chandler Lyles.
Thanks, Matt. So before I did all the barbecue things and everything else, I got married about 15 years ago. And show of hands, how many people in the room are married today? Okay, so I'm mad at all of you because I'm assuming a lot of you got married before I did. None of you warned me that as a man, when you're married, you know, the time of after the ceremony and right before the reception starts, you know, the couple apparently disappears to go take photos. That's a lie. That's not actually what happens. As a guy, I got dragged off into this room. There's a bunch of other old married dudes in there, and they look at me and they say, you have to make a decision that's going to dictate how the next 18 years of your life go. And I was like, oh God, what does that mean? They're like, you now have to pick a dad hobby. You either get really into World War II history or smoking meat. I chose smoking meat. And it became my hobby, right? Like all jokes aside, I got really passionate about this backyard barbecue thing. And then I did this really silly thing. I started inviting friends over to it. Where's my barbecue guy at, Derwin, right? Like everybody loves the smell of a pit and they come in and they're like, oh, let me get some of that, right? And they did that. And then they kind of liked it. It ended up being pretty good. They were like, hey, can we pay you to make some stuff for us? And you play that out over the course of a year, all of a sudden I was having to take vacation days on a Friday just to fulfill like 30, 40 racks of ribs on a little small Home Depot smoker. It was very janky. Like I did not know what I was doing. I was an accidental business owner. My hobby became this profession, which, show of hands, how many of you had that similar sort of experience, right? That's the entrepreneurship journey for so many of us. And so I was in the Air Force at the time. My last year, I kind of built this little mini barbecue side hustle up. And then I was like, you know what? My contract with the Air Force is ending. I think I'm gonna take a stab at it. Let's go chase the American dream and see what actually happens, right? Like, can I actually build a barbecue restaurant? And I joined my family, and we opened up this little barbecue place next to a gas station, which you can clearly see here. You know, I'm such a good entrepreneur. I picked a great location that you can't see my restaurant here? What do you mean? I picked a place. I was so smart. I picked a place that was next to an hourly hotel, next to a gas station, and next to a liquor store. Like I hit the trifecta for location. And in case you can't find it, it's right there. You don't know what you don't know, right? It's like so many of us here, when you don't know something, you're throwing yourself at it, you're trying to solve the problem, you go and you go and you go and you iterate and you iterate and you try, and you perfect the recipes and you do the things and you're passionate and the feedback you get is good, and then you open your doors and all these people that said they were going to come, you know, maybe they come a little bit, and then after the sort of hype of a new thing dies down and they return back to their normal lives, my dining room looked like this. How many of you have started to sell stuff and the initial excitement of like, yeah, let me know when that thing goes live. I'm first customer in. And then when it's time to pay any sort of money, you're like, John, what happened? You said da-da-da. And when you spend all this, I mean, we tried to make the gas station look nice, right? Like it looks okay. Like we did our best. We're not interior designers, but we tried. You know, we were in it every day for hours trying to make it better. But it didn't matter what we did. Like the way we were doing it, I should say, kept resulting in very mediocre sales for us on a day-to-day basis. And it was frustrating because all the feedback we were getting was great. The people that did come in really liked it. But it didn't translate to sales. When you don't know what to do, you do what you know how to do. And so I went and I started just researching everything. I was like, how do you market a business? I didn't have a background in marketing. I came straight from the Air Force to start this barbecue thing. Like, how do you actually grow a business? And there was a Sam's Club about a mile down the road from this location. And you can see in this picture here, right, this is a 4-lane highway where everybody's doing 80 in a 55, and they run that red light that the gas station was at, so they don't even stop. But about a mile back down the road, there was a Sam's Club. And next to the Sam's Club was this giant digital billboard, you know, and it said Lamar under it. And I was like, oh, I've been driving on the road before, seen a billboard and stopped at a restaurant. That feels like a personal experience for me that I can translate to this business, like it'll actually work. So I Googled the company. I got in touch with one of their sales reps. She came all the way out to our location. She braved it. She was like, man, this is rough. You guys need some billboards, right? And I was like, yeah, how many do you got? Well, I can only sell you the digital one. And for $2,500, I got a billboard. And this is the best picture I have of it because this was from a long time ago. But essentially, this logo would show up, this billboard would show up for 6 seconds, and then it'd rotate to the next thing. And I was sold. It was like, oh, you're going to get 100,000 impressions a day, which I don't know if that meant 100,000 people or 50,000 people with 2 eyeballs. I didn't know the terminology. And when I wrote that $2,500 check, that was so much money. And I'm on the back of looking at an empty dining room every day, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, am I actually good enough to do this? Am I actually an entrepreneur? Like, are we going to survive? Or are we going to become another statistic, right? We've all heard the stat of 50% of businesses close in the first year. And if you dive down deeper, it's cash flow is the #1 reason that small businesses fail in America. And when you spend $2,500 on a billboard that only shows up for 6 seconds at a time, you need that cash to come back. We got a 3-4 exit. We need people to come back. And so you can see, I'm not a graphic designer. Their company said, hey, we'll design the billboard for you. And I was like, that sounds great. I don't know how to do that anyways. You guys are the experts. So they put our logo on the left side there, which you can kind of see. They put our tagline. They helped us with that. They were like, family barbecue made from scratch, like sort of generic, safe, whatever. Doesn't really mean anything. And then they put this little redheaded kid eating ribs next to that. So if you had to guess, how many customers came in? Because to give you some context, I worked the register every single day because I didn't have money to pay staff. What is that? And when somebody would come in, I'd always ask them, oh, is this your first time with us? And if they said yes, my second question was always what? How'd you hear about us? Oh, you guys are marketers too. Look at you. And that's data you can use to inform your decisions on what you spend on next. So how many people do you think came, just shout it out, from this billboard? 5?
What time frame?
This was over the course of a month. That's a good question. 20, 25, 0. God, you guys are way more pessimistic than the first time I did this talk. You're really close. The answer is 3. 3 people. We were averaging $15 a plate, which I'm not great at math, but if you do math with me, that is $45. Killing it. In a business with 10% margins, which means I am a genius. And we do a little math here. $45 in revenue, $2,500 in expenses results in what we call in the marketing business a 0.02x return on ad spend. So if you're like me and you're like, I need pictures, Chandler. Show me how this works. Imagine you gave me $1 and I said, I'm so good at marketing, I'm going to give you 2 pennies back for every dollar you spend. That's what I did. You think you'd have a cash flow problem if every dollar you spent on marketing became 2 pennies? I had a cash flow problem. So where did I go wrong? I did the thing I saw so many people do. I couldn't tell you how many McDonald's billboards I've seen, Chick-fil-A billboards I've seen. We were in the same industry. I was just trying to emulate what I saw. Like, why did it not go well for me? And what I figured out over the course of 6 years of building and growing that barbecue brand, and even now having worked for other major companies and now owning our own agency where we're working with small brands, what we found is that there are 10 limiting beliefs that you believe right now. And I could already kind of see it even during Ray's session where you guys are coming up and doing the pitches. And there's some of these justifications we start to make about why things are or are not a certain way. And now after working with hundreds of different clients and going on my own journey to build my own brand, I can tell you that if you can just change your mind on these 10 areas, you will build a brand and you will avoid being another statistic of just closing a business. Does that sound good? Let's jump right in. Limiting belief number 1. Everyone knows you exist. I am empathetic. I understand. All of you think about your businesses every single day. And if you're good entrepreneurs, you probably think about it every single minute of the day, especially if you are doing less than $100,000 a year. You are in the thick of launching. The truth is that nobody thinks about your business. I had this belief, right? Back to this location. We were here for a year. And this person comes in, and I do the thing. I'm still working the register. I still had no money. And I'm like, oh, welcome in. How'd you hear about us? Oh, it wasn't the billboard. I saw it on Facebook or something. And so they come in, and I say, oh, well, are you, or the question they asked me was so funny. They go, how long have you guys been here? And I was like, oh, we opened here like a year ago. And then I'm thinking, I'm so dumb and innocent, I guess. I look at them and I go, when did you move to the area? And they go, I've lived a half mile down the road for 10 years. I could have thrown a rib and hit his front door if I tried hard enough. Everyone knows I exist. This dude drove up and down this road every day and missed my poorly branded website. But I thought about it every day, so I was shocked that he didn't ever think about us. And the reason is kind of annoying, but it's a truth we have to accept. Your brain is an incredible computer. It is processing so much information. It's estimated you make somewhere around 35,000 decisions a day. The problem is that you are only aware of 70 of them. That's like 0.2%. It's nothing. That means that when you went out there and ate today, like everything you did was a decision, but it was all done automatically. So marketing's job is to change everybody knows we exist to now no one knows you exist yet. And the quicker you understand and accept that, the faster you can get in the game with marketing and get to work. Limiting belief number 2, the best products win. Oh, this one, I get in fights with people. People abuse me at the Topgolf thing later for this one because, raise a hand, how many of you think you have the best product or service or you're going to make the best product or service, right? Yeah. When we're onboarding new clients for HighBeam, I always ask them like, oh, tell us about your product, tell us about what you do. And they're always so passionate about the product. But something interesting happens when you go on Google and you look up, I came from a restaurant background, how many good restaurants close with over 4.5 stars on Google? Are you telling me they closed because they had a bad product? Because the data says that they had a great product. How many of you know who Banksy is, the street artist? Banksy's art goes for about $100,000 a piece, like thousands and thousands of dollars. And so he's kind of a social commentary artist. He sets up this little roadside stand in New York as an experiment. For $60, you could buy a $100,000 piece of art. The trick is that you don't know it's a Banksy. It could be anybody's art. This guy, this is not Banksy, by the way, this is just somebody else he hired. But this man was open with this booth all day with probably, $1 million worth of art sitting there on New York. It's crazy. Nobody stole it. It just sat there safely. He sold to 3 different people. 3 people. And one woman haggled and got a buy one, get one free Banksy. Are you kidding me? I'd make that trade all day. I'm better at math now. I don't do dollar to 2 cents anymore. I would buy the Banksy. But if you don't know, value is it's not a real thing. It's like an emotional thing that we all feel. And there was this other couple that bought 2 of them. And once they found out it was a Banksy, they went to England and sold it at auction for $200,000. $120 became $200,000. Pretty good investment. People see your business based on the picture you paint. Nothing about that art changed, except the story around it, except the feelings around it. The framing effect is why, right? Because essentially you are taking what we think about something and we're just slightly shifting it to a different frame. You've got to change your belief about the best product winning and just assume, like we assume in the internet age that you have the best product. We assume you have a good product. There's so much information about products out there that it's almost table stakes for you to have an above average product. There's so much reviews out there, you can't get away with having a bad product. So now you got to go above and beyond. And that's where marketing comes in, is you start to create a brand and then you start to storytell around it and all the things. But you're basically going to wear 2 hats now as an entrepreneur. You got to start wearing the operator hat where you got to fulfill the orders, you got to fulfill the services, you got to do the books, you got to do all that stuff. That's half your job. The other half of your job has to become sales and marketing. You need to be dedicating at least 2 or 3, 4 hours a day, especially if you're sub $100,000 in revenue, which we saw the stats a lot of us in the room are. So marketing doesn't change what you sell, it changes how people see it. So the limiting belief changes from the best products win to the best known products win. And that's tough, I get it. You're passionate about the thing, you did the thing, but it's okay. You can still have a great thing, and let's just make sure as many people as possible know about it. Limiting belief number 3, your brand is for everyone. This is another question that comes up during HighBeam marketing onboarding calls, is we'll ask, who's your ideal customer profile, your ICP? And the answer I get from the newer entrepreneurs is always, oh, it's kind of for everybody. Everybody can use this. Everybody needs this. We were talking about the guy that has the mounting stuff for the flags on the back of your car. You got a car, you can mount a flag on it. Everybody needs it. Everybody's got a car, everybody needs a flag. But it's not true. There's a certain type of person that wants that. Early on, we were getting a lot of requests, it felt like, for salads at the barbecue restaurant. Raise your hand if you go to the barbecue restaurant you go to and you're like, I just want a salad. Yeah, okay, that's about the data. There's 3 of you. I was a desperate entrepreneur with an empty dining room, and I had 3 people come in and go, oh, the sandwich is good, but I'm more of a salad person. Can you make me a salad? I'm like, I don't have lettuce here, but come back in a month, we'll fix it. And we did that. We went in, we bought all the new equipment it was going to take to have a salad on the menu. We trained our staff on how to make a salad. I was finally able to hire a little bit of staff. And like we did all this work to match what I felt like was market demand. And then we ran it through like November through the end of January. And after this 3-month test, I was like, I just don't feel like we're moving as much salad as I thought we were going to. I was shocked. I was like, people don't want to come to a barbecue restaurant for salad. And then I looked at the data, and it was like we were selling in January, the month where we're all supposed to be healthy, we were selling 1.1 salads a day. That's crazy. And it was because I was focused on the wrong people. I had the wrong notion. I was thinking I could be for everybody. And really what I should have been about was like, if you want the best barbecue possible in an atmosphere that feels like going to your uncle's backyard barbecue, like that's why you come eat with us. See, even just saying that, you probably all inside are like, yeah, that sounds way better than salad, empty dining room barbecue place. There's this thing called the law of diffusion that you should understand, and it's basically how ideas spread across populations. On the far left here, you have the innovators and the early adopters. Those are kind of like the cool kids in school where they're the trendsetters. They're willing to go take risk and try new things. Then you have the early majority, which looks at what all the cool kids are doing and saying like, oh, it's no longer as risky. Like I'll go try it out. I'll buy those sneakers. I'll do that thing. And then you have the late majority, which is like, oh, I've got so much pressure from all my other friends. Like I'm going to go start doing it now too. And then you have the laggards who are like, I wouldn't do that if it was the last option. Like they wouldn't eat barbecue if they were starving. They're like, no, thank you. Most of us aim for the middle because it makes sense. Logically, it makes sense. Like that is where the most people are. So you try to soften your messaging and you try to match as many people's expectations as possible instead of focusing in as tightly as possible right down here on the left-hand side. We can play this out. Nike, right? Everybody likes to wear Nikes. Nike started not as they are now, like they were a running shoe company. And they invented running essentially as a way to work out in the 70s and 80s. Like nobody was really running for health benefits. Like Nike helped put that on the map. They start out way over there doing that. They get traction, they get sales, they get momentum, they can do all the things to the point where now they're able to sell to laggards who just go to Payless Shoes and they're like, oh, the Nikes are on sale, I'll buy those. Like now they can hit the whole market, but they started out very tight. And we can run this through several different options. Your brand is not for everyone. Great brands focus on people who get it. Be willing to say no to people. Be willing to be different. Like be willing to turn money down to serve the right group of people and change your products and services so that you hit the right market. And that's tough to do because again, when your dining room's empty, you're like, I kind of want everybody's money. I need it. Limiting belief number 4, branding is overrated. I get it. Like branding feels overrated. Oh, it's like I get a logo done, I get some colors, some fonts, like call it a day. This is a styrofoam cooler. How much would you pay for this styrofoam cooler at a gas station? $1, $2, yeah, we're not going past $5 on a styrofoam cooler. You're crazy. What about now? $600. You know what? I got a styrofoam cooler with a Yeti sticker on it in the car. Yep, you got it. I mean, it's a dumb example, but you felt it a little bit when you were like, oh, maybe that's a Yeti styrofoam cooler. Maybe I do need that, you know? We call it the halo theory. You know, you assign a positive association with one thing, you assign it to another thing. You know, and we're doing that all the time as humans. We're constantly looking for little shortcuts. Again, your brain's making 35,000 decisions a day. You're conscious of 70 of them. How do you think your brain makes those other 34,000 decisions? It's because of all the different shortcuts and experiences and all the things you've done that help you do that. And that's what branding is. And if you don't believe me, the tumbler on the left there is a generic Yeti, you know, double wall insulated, keep your drink colder longer than you should safely drink it anyways. $13. The branded one is what, $35? That's a 269% price difference. Just because they had a brand and they stood for something and they told the same story over and over and over again for a long time, and they built that sort of value in their consumers' minds. So what is a brand? The brand, the way I like to describe it, and there's a lot of ways to do this, and we're going to go deeper into this. This is just a little section of my talk, but I wanted to touch on it from a mindset standpoint. I like to think about branding like a story that you tell about something like a logo or whatever, right? And if you have a positive story, then it's a positive brand. And if you have a negative story, then it's a negative brand experience. And if you get a lot of people telling the same story over and over and over again, now you have a big positive brand. And it works in reverse too. 87% of people are willing to pay more just because they trust the brand. And we saw that with the Yeti example or the Stanley. You know, pick your pick your double wall insulated poison. So our mindset shifts from branding is overrated to brand is a shortcut to decision making. Number 5, customers are rational. Oh, y'all laugh. You know where this is going, huh? How many of you know who Gary Dahl is? Do you remember Gary Dahl? He was a real famous entrepreneur from the 70s. And you're going to know Gary Dahl in about 1 second. He sold pet rocks. Do I need to do anything else to prove to you that humans aren't irrational? What you don't know is that in the 70s, he sold these things for $5 a piece. That is $20 in today's marketing or money. He sold 1.5 million units estimated at $20 a piece. The man became a millionaire selling rocks to people that came from Mexico, I think. You know, people aren't rational. We do irrational things all the time. How about this one? How many of you prefer Coca-Cola over Pepsi? Who's the Coke fans in the room?
Georgia.
Yeah, go Dogs. I like it, Georgia. How many of you prefer Pepsi over Coke products? Yeah, interesting kind of split in the room, right? 50-50, depends on if you're from the South, you're from the North. Like there's a lot of factors that factor in. And Pepsi kind of got tired. I mean, we even saw the recent marketing example where they had, what did it say? There was it Steve Carell or somebody was in a booth and they were like, Pepsi's not okay. It's not, or Coke isn't okay. It's Pepsi, whatever they said. Like they know it is such a problem that people like Coke more than Pepsi that they were trying to find all these different marketing ways to do it. And one thing they did was called the Pepsi Challenge. You guys remember this ad from way back when? And if you don't, what they did was it's a blind taste test, 2 little cups of soda, 1 Pepsi, 1 Coke, and they asked them, which one do you prefer? Pepsi won, going away. From a logical standpoint, from a rational standpoint, Pepsi should be the bigger soda brand. And this psychologist comes along, you know, a few years later, and he wants to figure out why the sales for Pepsi don't match that experiment specifically. So they reran it. They did it the way the original version went, and they found out it repeated the results. So then in the second version of the study, he made a new version where he told people what they were going to drink beforehand. And the preference for Coke went up to like 70-75%. So it was almost a 180-degree turn just because they put the logo of Coca-Cola on the cup, which triggered the emotional side of your brain and not the rational side. We're not rational creatures. Customers buy with emotion, and we justify that decision with logic. And the crazy thing about emotion is that you are making decisions so quickly, like it happens faster than you even know it does. Limiting belief number 6. This one's good, from The Godfather, right? It's not personal, it's just business. I mean, everybody in here, you're spending all that time thinking about your business is personal. It's personal to you. So when somebody rejects you, it feels personal, right? There was a day early on, you know, we used to set up our first year in business, we were in a tent. We didn't have the fancy gas station restaurant yet. I was just in this little hobo tent on the side of the road. This is a pain to deal with. We had to build out a full restaurant essentially every single time we set this up. You got to put the tent up, you got to get everything there first. Then you got to build the whole tent up, and then you got to get everything out, and then you got to get it ready for the health inspector to come, and then the health inspector's got notes to give you, and you got to fix everything the health inspector gave you. You know, Derwin knows, he knows what I'm talking about right now. He's got to deal with this. Like, it is a pain. And when you're doing that for a year straight, 5-6 days a week in all kind of weather, you eventually get burnt out on it. And there was a day that I was all in my feelings, and I was like, I don't want to, why am I doing this? What are we doing here? Like, what's happening? Like, we were set up behind this brewery, so it smelled like a brewery, and like, it was raining. Like, there's no protection from the elements in this. It was just like, why did I quit the Air Force to do this? That was a dumb decision. Right around this time where I'm really feeling bad for myself, this couple comes out, and I put on my best game face possible. You know, we've all got to fake it sometimes. You may not be feeling it, but you're a professional, so you're like, we're gonna try. So I put on the game face, and I said, hey, how are you guys doing? What brings you out tonight? Oh, we just moved down from Michigan. We wanted to check out one of the local breweries, and you know, we were just happy there was food here. That's great. We're happy y'all are here. You know, that little compliment sort of made me feel a little bit better about myself. I kind of got off my slide a little bit, and I said, okay, well, you just came from Michigan. Welcome. Have you had an Ale 8 yet? And do you guys know what Ale 8 is? I know people from Kentucky will know what that is. It's a very regional soda here in this area. I say it's the national drink of Kentucky. It's not actually bourbon, it's Ale 8. So if you go to a gas station after this, grab an Ale 8, they're great. I had a moment with these people where I said, okay, you're new to Kentucky, let me introduce you to this delicacy here. And we sold Ale 8s for like $3 or $4 a bottle, and this was early on. You know, I was worse off than I was in the gas station restaurant from a revenue standpoint. I needed the $4. But I decided to give it away for free, sort of cheers with them. I had one, and we all drank it together, and it was a good time. Fast forward, about a year later, we're back in the gas station, and this same couple comes in. They had stayed fans, they followed us, and that one little $4 drink turned into thousands of dollars in them eating with us every day, or all the time, I should say. We catered several different events for them. It was thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars because we gave one little thing away, because I took a moment not to take it so personally, but to also make it personal for them. And your brain is wired with this thing called reciprocity, which goes all the way back to when we were, more tribal creatures. Essentially, it's like when I give you something valuable, you feel this compulsion to match it. Think about if, what is it? There's this guy, Richard Leakey, he's a famous anthropologist, and he said essentially because we know how to share food is why we're human. It's why we survived. It's why we made it. Because imagine John, he misses a deer, but I got one. And so I share my deer with John. And then tomorrow I miss a deer, John gets one, he shares. We have an equal balance. But if I get a deer and John doesn't, and then I get a deer and then John doesn't, and we play that over a month, John's kind of a slacker. And John gets kicked out of the tribe, and John's gone. And so the person who stays in the tribe and survives is built with this reciprocity gene where he goes, if I can't get deer, I better do something else. And we are all wired with that today. So think about that. Your customers want you to give something before you take. I like to think about it like an emotional bank account. If I'm wanting you to pay me for something, I need to make sure you get like 3 or 4x the value back. But value is not necessarily monetary. It could be an emotion. It could be a phone call. It could be a lot of different things. So business is incredibly personal. Everything is personal because you are the main character in your life, and so are your customers. And they have a long memory. You can go read some of my old 1-star reviews. They're not great when I messed it up. It's personal. All right, limiting belief number 7. Marketing is complicated. How many of you think marketing is complicated by a show of hands? Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot you got to do, yep. I tried to boil marketing down to, because it changes all the time, right? Like we'll go into this in a little bit, but there's so much, like it used to be newspapers, now it's Facebook, now it's radio, now it's digital billboards. There's so many different options. And so I try to what is the core thing running behind all of this? And so marketing at the end of the day comes down to a pretty simple formula. It's attention first. That's the first part of the formula. Because again, back in the day, we only had 5 options, but now we have 1,000 different options for where we can spend our marketing dollars. And how do you know which one to pick first? And then it's multiplied by emotion. So it's not enough to just get somebody's attention. You got to make them actually feel something. But why are emotions so important? There's this guy named Antonio Damasio who's a psychologist, and he had a practice. And one day he had this guy come into his office that had had a traumatic brain injury to where it affected his brain in a way to where he wasn't able to actually process emotions like you and I can. And you would think that would make him a superhero, like he's not bogged down by irrational feelings. He can just be logical with everything. The problem is that without emotions, he was not able to make any kind of decision. When Damasio would ask him, hey, what time can you meet next week? The guy would then proceed to list out every day of the week and every time and all the pros and cons for each time. He was unable to make a decision because he could not process emotions. He became a hoarder. His marriage fell apart. And what's crazy is his intellect never changed. His IQ level stayed the same. His ability to remember things stayed the same. It was all the loss of ability with emotion and decision making that hurt him. So great marketing at the end of the day triggers one of the 6 core emotions. This is called an emotion wheel. You can either take a picture of this or Google it later. What I want you to do is look at all of your messaging, look at all of your social media content, look at all of your emails, and then ask yourself, does this actually trigger any of these emotions? And if it does trigger emotion, does it trigger the right emotion? Is your website loading too slow, which triggers anger, which makes me remember that I hate your website and I'm never going back? You can trigger the wrong emotion, which has just as much power as the right emotion. Marketing is complicated when you're new to it. It's a lot and it's overwhelming, but if you just remember the marketing formula, then you'll be okay. Just ask yourself, the activity I like to do is, as I talk to my customers, and it's hard to do this presentation because there's so many different industries in the room. We're all in different stages of business. But you need to understand the underlying mental model here, which is you got to know where your customers' attention are when they're not with you. And then you got to know how to trigger the emotions, how to make them feel something about your brand once you show up in front of them. If you look at that billboard that I had up, it really wasn't a very good emotional billboard. It was just noise in the background. And again, 35,000 decisions in a day, you remember 70 of them. If you cause an emotion, that's a real good way to end up with being one of the 70 conscious decisions that they feel. Limiting belief number 8, marketing is boring. I have seen so much boring marketing in my day, but it doesn't have to be boring. Like, marketing is a chance for you to make something incredible happen. One of my favorite stories is the Magic Castle out in, I believe they're near Hollywood, California. And this is a former apartment complex that this company bought and turned into a sort of semi-long-term, 4 or 5 day rental for hotel rooms. And it's a hotel, so it's pretty, like, it's a commodity. You have a safe room that's secure that you can sleep in at night. Maybe the beds are comfortable, maybe not. Maybe the pillows are good, maybe not. Like, there's some commodity type things in there. But they looked at that and they said, okay, how can we make this a better experience than just a safe place to sleep? So they gave kids free soda. They give adults free soda instead of nickel and diming you for it. They give you free ice cream. They even have a pool. And the coolest thing about the pool is that they looked and they said, okay, a lot of hotels have pools. How can we make it better? And so they added something called the popsicle hotline, to where a kid can walk up, this kid right now, grabbing the phone and goes, hey, I would like a popsicle, please. And then somebody shows up with a tray of popsicles. And he made the right choice. Grape is the only popsicle choice you should ever make. I will fight you for it. I'm an irrational creature. But the pool is interesting, but it's a pool. You've seen tons of pools. I've never been to a pool that has a freaking popsicle hotline to it. That is marketing. That is a very well-designed, on-purpose, intentional decision that company made to do something unique, to take a boring moment and to elevate it. There's this, I was just hearing this story last week. It's so crazy. There's this restaurant in England where if you go there, if you're in the VIP program and you go to the restaurant Monday through Thursday from like 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. and you're in the VIP program, you get the opportunity to roll a dice. And if you roll a 6, you eat for free. Your whole table eats for free, which I'm not a mathematician, but apparently that's on average a 16% discount. And people love this. Like, people that are this is a very fancy restaurant. These are multi-millionaires that go eat there, and they insist on going before 5 just so they can have a chance to win a free meal. And they wouldn't have gotten out of bed for a 16% discount without the draw. But math-wise, it works out the same. Again, we're not rational creatures. That restaurant did something so smart. They took the boring process of paying a bill and they found a way to make it interesting during their non-busy time, which was 3 to 5 p.m. So ask yourself, of all of the things I have going on, how can I improve and make this more interesting? There's no rules with marketing. There's some heavily implied things you can do that could reach success, but at the end of the day, there's no rules. You get to do weird things like this. I'll tell you, here's a great example. It's a good segue. I had a brisket candle at the restaurant, which is objectively gross, I understand. And my wife would get very mad at me every time I lit one in our house. The women in the room are appalled right now. I'm sorry. I've done this to you. But yeah, we went to a bunch of barbecue restaurants and I was seeing merch walls all the time. People always had t-shirts. They always had sweatshirts. I know you own a bakery, Nick, right? So you can have a sweatshirt and a t-shirt. But it's what if I had a croissant smelling candle? That would do better than brisket, I think. But it was different, right? It was a thing that when you came in, it was just like you're standing in line waiting to order, and we found a way to make it interesting. And that's what marketing is, finding the mundane moments and making them something 5% more interesting. And you can do that with everything. If you're shipping something to somebody, what can you put in the box that surprises them? We get stuff from Amazon all the time. It just comes with brown paper and bubble wrap. That's boring. Do something interesting with the boring. Be maniacally ruthless about your entire process and ask yourself, how can we make this 5% more interesting? Because it doesn't take much to be novel. It really doesn't. Marketing's not boring. Marketing is magic. Belief number 9, marketing is too expensive. I get it. When you're spending $1 and you make 2 cents back, that is very expensive. It's a bad way to be in business. The reason you think it's expensive is something we call random acts of marketing. I try a little of this, I try a little of that, I try a little of that. I bought the back of Kroger receipts. I put our coupon on the back of those one time. I put coupons in mailers and had those sent out for $500. I did radio ads. I tried TV ads at 3 a.m. apparently, because that's the only time I could afford. We did all kind of stuff. And then I was just wondering, why is none of this working? And this was the problem. I had no plan. I was just doing a bunch of random crap, throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what stuck. Which is an okay option when you're starting out and you don't know, but the faster you can get on a plan, that's just hard-won advice. There's something in your brain called loss aversion, where you are twice as, how can I say this? You feel twice as much pain for losing $100 than the pleasure you feel if you just found $100. What that means is that you would rather not lose $100 than to find $100. Like, we are irrational people. That does not make sense. And so if you've spent money on marketing and it didn't work, that doesn't mean you don't try again. You got to switch your mindset a little bit where you go, okay, if I can just figure out how to market my business, maybe it's Facebook ads, maybe it's Google ads, maybe it's just door-to-door sales. Like, there's a bunch of different options for a bunch of different business types in here, but you've got to see it through and figure out the one that works for you. The biggest businesses in the world do marketing. You know, you're going to hear from a guy this afternoon that's done marketing for large companies. They have way bigger brands than any of us are probably going to build in this room, just statistically speaking, and they still did marketing. So you got to figure it out. You got to persevere. You got to avoid this feeling of loss and just look at it like an investment in both your education and learning what does and doesn't work for your business. And then be okay with the fact that, you know, what did we spend, Ben? My business partner Ben is here. We spent $8,000 2 years ago to hire this woman to come in and be like a speaker consultant for us. Because, like, when I get up and speak on stages, I get to do a lot of fun things like this and build credibility, and it's a good lead flow for us, right? So I paid this woman like $8,000, and she told me I was going to get on at least 4 or 5 stages that year. I got on 0 stages from her work. You know, it was me out here trying to build relationships with the DAV and doing this that got us here. It wasn't her. But I lost that $8,000. It is gone. But I didn't give up on speaking or using this as a lead source for us. That didn't work. It sucked. Let's move on. So how much should you spend? If you're doing a certain amount of revenue, and this is about margin and all the things, 5 to 25% of your top line revenue should be spent on advertising. If you're trying to grow faster, on the higher end. If you're trying to just maintain and don't really care to make it a massive thing, 5 to 10%. If you don't have any money for marketing, this means that 25% of your time every day needs to be spent on marketing your business. And that could be one-on-one DMs, that could be door-to-door sales, that could be figuring out how to do social media marketing, writing emails, doing something. You got to be doing some sort of marketing activity with at least 25% of your time. This is a sample marketing plan. Feel free to take a picture of this. If you guys want a full workshop style training on this, I go deep into each one of these sections, and you can email me and I'm happy to get you connected with that. But this, I would say, is a fairly safe marketing plan for the majority of people in this room based on a really brief bit of research I did on everybody that was here. But again, this feels way more organized. Even though you still have all the options, I'm like, oh, I feel a little better about this. I at least see how if I make a Facebook post, they then end up on my free offer on my website, and then they get in the newsletter, and then they buy the initial purchase, and then I can do an upsell and da-da-da. You can start to see how when I spend $10 on a Facebook ad and drive traffic to the website, I can start to see how the money is going to actually come back. So no, marketing is not too expensive. Marketing without a plan is expensive. Limiting belief number 10. Marketing should work immediately. Let's be honest for a second, guys. How many of you have been frustrated by doing any amount of marketing and it didn't just magically turn customers around the next day? I see a lot of head. I see a lot of, yeah. If you're raising your hand, we're all in trouble, Don. I mean, that's going to be rough. Multi-million-dollar budgets, and it's just true. We want things instantly, but it's not realistic. It's not how the world works. It's not how human behavior works. Again, 35,000 decisions a day. You're conscious of 70 of them. How much time do I need to spend with you to become one of your 70 conscious decisions? It's a lot. And if let's say you did all this effort into making a small little Instagram reel that was a minute long, and I watched it for 15 seconds. That means you got my attention for 15 seconds one time, and then I moved on, and you're blown away that I didn't buy from you. After 15 seconds, that's crazy. That's the wrong mentality to have around it. We have this saying in the barbecue world, if you're looking, you're not cooking. Look, I see the head nod. You know. Brisket's what? 12, 15 hours, 225 to 250 degrees. It's low and slow. Pulled pork, same thing, 12, 15 hours. It takes a long time to do that. And I understand, because when you're just looking at it and you're in the moments and you're just so close to it, this is how marketing feels. I'm just spinning my wheels, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. The problem is that you guys are doing this probably for the first time. And so you just have the wrong perspective, because if you were sitting where I'm sitting, I could come to all of your businesses and I'd go, okay, I know you feel this way, but my vantage point with all my experiences and all the things I've seen, it looks like this. You're going in a circle, but it's slowly up. You know, I'm okay with the 5% lift in sales this month over last. I'm okay with just 10%. I'm okay. All the people online on the internet that are like, oh, I 10x my business overnight. I'm crushing it. That's a lot. And even if they did, good for them. They are officially the exception and not the rule. I'll never hate on somebody else's success, but that does not mean that's how your business is going to play out. I've worked on enough brands to know this is how it works the majority of the time. And the thought process behind this, we call it the 95-5 rule. Think about it like this. 95% of the market is not in market for what you do right now. Not saying they couldn't be at some point, but they're not right now. About 5% is. Salespeople's job is to go one by one by one by one across 100 people and find the 5 via cold calls, cold emails, whatever, and get those people, happen to get them in the right moment, build trust, do all the things, close the deal. Marketing's job, really at the end of the day, if you're doing marketing well, is to build a relationship with this 95%, right? I'm watching your reel for 15 seconds, that's a little relationship. You guys are watching me talk up here for an hour, like that's me building a relationship with you. I'm trying to teach you something. Probably most of you are not ready to buy what we're doing yet. But I believe in 5 to 10 years you will be, and I hope I'm at least in the top 5 is what we call it. You know, that came from the barbecue days where you and your spouse, where do you want to go eat? Oh, we got Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, Lyles Barbecue, Panda Express, and Campo Rosa. Like you want to be in that top 5 for the problem you solve. And that's what marketing does. It positions you in that top 5. The problem is that you've got to have the cash flow or the time to invest to build the relationship with the 95% so that when they're ready to buy, they pick you. We see a lot of brands doing between $1 and $5 million top line revenue end up coming to look at Highbeam to work with them. And there's something that happens right around that point. You finally have enough money to really be able to pay professionals to come in and do the thing that you've just been holding on to as good as you can. And the reason they get stuck at that revenue level is that they're addicted to the return on ad spend model. They're addicted to this idea that if I spend $1, I got to make 4 back. And like attribution, just to get too in the weeds here for a second, where we could track every dollar we were spending, like that ruined marketing. Like back in the day in the 80s and 90s, you just did TV commercials and hoped, and you kind of looked at sales on a quarterly basis, and that's how you knew if your campaigns worked or not. We got to go a little bit more back to that. Still use the data, still do the attribution, all those things. But just know that it's working. Like if you're doing the right things, if you're following the plan, and more importantly, if your revenue is going up month over month, or even better, year over year, then what you're doing from a marketing sales standpoint is working. You're just impatient and you want it to go faster. Marketing should work immediately. Moves to marketing takes time. It took us a while. Like I said, it took me about 6 years to really unpack all these limiting beliefs. And once I did, business boomed for us. We were able to move from that bad gas station restaurant. We had enough money to move to a better one. We even opened a second location. Then we started getting featured on all these different publications. We even got on a cooking show called the Great Big Barbecue Brawl or something like that. My mom was featured on that. And then we were on this show on CNBC called The Profit with Marcus Lemonis, and we got an investment from him to grow our business. And like all these really cool things started to happen for us. And it was awesome. But I can hear you now. Chandler, show me the money. This is all great and grand for you. All this theory sounds awesome. Like, how does this actually equate to me making money? 2014, 2015, we didn't really market anything. I didn't know what I was doing. We were just grinding it out as hard as we could, and this is where our revenue was. And over the next 2 years, we learned a lesson, and our revenue did this. And then we learned more lessons and learned more lessons and learned more lessons and stayed consistent with it, and then our revenue did this. And so we broke $1 million in sales at the barbecue restaurant, doing $6 sandwiches, one person at a time, which is a lot of sandwiches. I recommend finding $1 million product and selling that one time. It's way easier. But if you're not in that business and you're in business like most of us, you gotta get out of your own head. This is gonna be a recording. I'm happy to send it out. If you send me an email, I'll make sure you get it. And rewatch this back as you're feeling crazy, because you're not crazy. You're not alone, you're not crazy. What drives me in this life is attempting to put the Fortune 500 out of business, essentially. I do not believe that you should be able to be a CEO and lay off tens of thousands of people and then still get a bonus check. I think that is killing our country more than anything else. And you guys are all former military people and you serve the country that way. And I'm mostly excited that you are now here ready to serve the country again as entrepreneurs, because if you take what we teach you from a marketing standpoint and all the other lessons you're going to learn here, you're going to be able to make not only your own lives better, you're going to make your employees' lives better, because now they're going to work for a good boss working on good products and services and not maniacal shit. And on top of that, you're going to make customers' lives better, because now they're working with you instead of some PE-backed company that's just trying to drive as much value as possible. And finally, the community that you operate in is going to get better. So what you guys are doing, the new mission I should say you were on, is worth it. So you're going to have hard times. You're going to feel bad. It's lonely and it's isolating. Use me as a resource. Use the DAV as a resource. We all exist to help you get where you're trying to go. So I appreciate your all's time. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Thank you.